There has never been a better time in history to be born female.
No interviewer, no journalists, just two legends.
Thank you for giving us 2 words and a hashtag that help free us, because we are all Me Too's.
Power only understands power. Power will look for weakness in the opponent. I do not reflect weakness.
My time with the Spice Girls, when we put our energies and ambitions together, we were formidable.
I did question, why am I here? Continually throughout my life.
And it was a total shock to see right across Africa, forests disappearing, chimpanzee numbers dropping.
Foreign correspondents can be in this very, very precarious position of actually tilting things.
Trailblazing women sharing their truths and how they created their unique path to success. Inspiring, revealing, empowering. This episode of The Power of Women is Sharleen Spiteri, recording artist and songwriter. Amanda Berry, OBE, CEO of the British Academy of Film and Television Arts.
The question I'm asked a lot is, has being a woman held you back? And I go, absolutely not.
Film, music, art, it reflects your own life.
So what are you going to do? It's such a treat to be here with you.
I can't believe it. Honestly, it's like we've met before.
Yes.
Met a couple of times. One very early morning, which was extraordinary. I don't even know how we managed to, like, on a radio show, get like that much
Well,
happiness
I
in
was
the morning.
So in awe of you. We were doing, it was the Chris Evans show.
Evans radio show, yeah.
Radio 2. I think we'd just announced the Film Awards nominations.
Yes, and I got very excited, didn't I?
You
because
did.
I am actually a BAFTA member, which is probably actually my moment of every year when it's BAFTA season, when the movies start coming in. I'm literally like, yes! Oh! I do get really excited about it.
We could spend the next half an hour just talking about films.
Movies literally that was my first passion, was film.
Me too. When I was growing up, I was a really sickly child. From a baby, I was covered in eczema, I had loads of food allergies, and I was quite a bad asthmatic. So I used to struggle to sleep. So, so I literally just sat up watching television. And when I was old enough to go to the cinema, we had this wonderful, old, historic cinema called the Zetland Cinema. So I grew up in a small town in Yorkshire called Richmond. But the problem with the Zetland Cinema was everything about it was ancient. So when you sat on those big, plump, red velvet seats, you sat on them, you went down, the dust went up. So I'd have an asthma attack.
Because even that smell, I remember now
single time I went to the cinema, I'd have an asthma attack, sometimes so bad I'd end up in hospital. So cinema for me became this special place that I really wanted to go to, and almost no matter the cost.
It is so worth. I remember going to the cinema. So my first movie, the one that I went to see first was Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which I absolutely loved. And then I got a viewfinder after it. Do you remember those viewfinders with all the slides of Bedknobs and Broomsticks? It freaked me out. I sort of feel that my childhood was very much lived in. Like I would be like today, when people say to me, "Oh, you're such a cute little girl," but like, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy.
Wow.
Drove everybody mad.
I bet
My mother was literally
that.
going, she is a girl, and I'd be like.
But isn't that the great thing about film, though, that it can take you to a whole other place, and you can just get lost completely for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you come back out. And particularly if you go to the cinema during the day, and you come out and it's still daylight, and part of
that feeling is really special.
It is. It's incredible. You never lose that.
Yeah, and how something touches you, and how. Yeah, I know that if I go and see a movie, I'm going to like. The situation, the feeling, the emotion will reflect something in my life, or people that I know, and then it becomes yours, and you know that feeling of that depth of what they felt at that moment, whether it's, happiness, euphoria, whatever it is, closeness, intimacy, or disappointment or pain. All those things like remind you of moments of your life, and I guess for me that was my escapism as a child.
Chief Executive Amanda Berry joined BAFTA in 1998 and has been instrumental in the major changes BAFTA has undergone, successfully positioning it as the preeminent charitable body that educates, promotes and rewards excellence in the art forms of the moving image. BAFTA's mentoring, scholarship and kids programs discover, support and nurture exciting emerging talents in film, games and television.
If our industry can stand up and shout about what's happening, then that should enable people to feel they have a voice. And that's the most important thing for me, is to, when you hear the stories of what's happened to people, that people didn't feel they had a voice. So let's make that change and make sure that people do.
We have achieved so many of my dreams for BAFTA. There is still so much we want to do. I have a great team of people and truly believe that working together we can create magic. I also love working in an organisation where you can make the impossible possible.
Sharleen Spiteri, lead singer of Texas, formed in 1986. They've had 13 UK top 10 singles, 3 UK #1 albums and 8 UK top 10 albums.
When you're standing in front of 17,000 people and they're all there to see you, that ain't so hard, trust me.
I hated sitting down talking to people. I hated the opinions coming from all the people at the record company, how I should look, how I should dress, how I should act, how I should be. It was like I couldn't bear to sit down and do interviews. I was still saying, I'm a nice person, like me.
To me, I'm looking at that going, that's really, really sexy.
It is, and I don't think you need to wear nothing, because these days
I
lots
mean,
of
it's
the young
right for
girls
some
do.
people. It's right for some people, and they're really good at it, and it looks great. But me, seriously, honestly, I would scare the kids if I got my gear off. And I think the pressure is for everybody as women out there, not just if you're in the public eye, to be completely honest with you. My theory from the beginning was always that, it's like, don't do too much makeup, don't do too much primping, and then when people see you, don't go, oh my goodness, you look really what a scarer. I was quite a loner.
Yes, me too.
Were you a loner as well?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, I was like, I'm very comfortable in my own company. I even find that still now when I go on tour, continually with a band, and we're unbelievably close, they're like my brothers. But I'll go off to the laundrette for the day, which you and I spoke about, because as soon as you told me when you're like that, my parents had like a big dry cleaning business.
They did.
I'm obsessed with washing and laundry and cleaning.
See, I love all that, because when I was growing up, we didn't have a washing machine in the house because everything went to the dry cleaners and the laundry. So I remember I went to York Art College, and I remember going to the laundrette for the first time. I had no idea what to do. And yes, my favourite yellow jumper went from that size to that size. So I learnt pretty quickly. But no, I used to spend every summer holiday working in my dad's factory. So I'm, a dab at hand. My favourite one was this machine where you put the jackets on and then it blew hot air through the jackets.
See, don't, because then I want one of those machines.
I'm not even sure they make them anymore. And then as soon as I was old enough to drive, I wondered why my dad was so keen for me to pass my driving test. He then sent me out on the van rounds. So here was me in these huge, I think they were called comma vans, driving around the Yorkshire Dales. I'm sure I wasn't that safe.
Was it
delivering dry cleaning? You would have loved the smell in that van. You would have been so happy.
That smell literally freaks me out. I just love it. It's like a comfort to me. It's like, and relax.
Yeah, no, I like everything to be just so. I was just thinking about growing up and working in my dad's factory. I remember being very young and thinking my dad was the coolest dad on this earth because he did the dry cleaning for Father Christmas. And the reason he did the dry cleaning for Father Christmas, and I believe this for many years, was that at a certain time of year, there'd be at least 6 Father Christmas outfits hanging up on one of the rails in the factory. So I told everybody that my dad used to do Father Christmas's dry cleaning. And then as I got older, I realised that he'd bought these outfits and he gave them out to local charities. When they needed a Father Christmas outfit, they came to my dad.
That is fantastic.
I used to think he did his dry cleaning.
I would have had to try it on.
Yeah.
I'd have been like this, right into that. So that feeling when you go to like a big party, a big family party, and there's like a big pile of coats. I was always in some of the coats. Your aunties, all your aunties' old coats and everything, you've been in these giant coats as a kid. Yeah. But those parties, were literally like so much again of that singing thing, the music thing. I don't know if that happened in your household, but in Glasgow it was literally like my grandparents would have a party every second weekend and you had to get up and do something. You'd had to get up and do a song, sing something, tell a joke, recite a bit of poetry, whatever it was. And I used to have a cousin that used to get up and sing this song called I Once Had a Dear Old Mother. It was a traditional song about a mother who dies and leaves her child behind and she visits her from heaven every night. And all the old aunties would be going, oh, lovely. And I'd be in the doorway going, that song is absolute rubbish. That is a crap song. And I'd be literally going, dying to go on, and then they would like, it would be my turn, and I would just go in and I'd be like, I had a bit, and they would clearly go and have a cup of tea. So I think I was scarred for life, and that's probably why I became a musician.
But the trouble is, when you're surrounded by all of that, is people just expect you to be able to do it. So did it ever, at any stage, did you think this might be a career?
Never.
Or
Even when I joined Texas, I had never pursued being in music at all. You know, I was coming out of school, going to Glasgow School of Art, all that, and then I went into hairdressing. Like, it was summer holidays came round, and I got a job in Irvine Rusk as a Saturday junior, just to earn some money for like inks and you know, pastels and everything, and supplies. And I loved it so much because I remember they had these Catherine Hamnet jumpsuits with their uniform, and I was like,
I remember that. Because I lived in Glasgow in 1990 through to 94, so we probably even met each other then.
Probably even well, no, you wouldn't, because I was in Texas at that point.
Right.
It had been about 86 when I'd left. I was still working for a year at Irvine Rusk, and in Texas is a big secret. But right up to that, I was working in there, cutting hair and having a great time, great uniforms, making up mixtapes for the salon and everything. And on a Friday night, I mean, you know what it was like in Glasgow at that point, just a big night out after work.
Well, I remember moving to Glasgow in 1990, and that whole, because living in London, sort of every night is a busy night. Moved to Glasgow, and I remember going into some of the designer shops on let's say a Friday evening, and people were literally ripping open their paper pay packets to buy clothes for the weekend. And then if you went out early in the week, it was really quiet, and then the weekend just exploded. I don't know if it's still like that, but it was such a difference moving from London to a city that was such a party city at the weekend.
Amazing, and very important as well, like your look and, you know, where you were going, what was going on, like really good quality clubs and everything, and that was like still is such a massive part of Glasgow.
There's such an energy, Glasgow.
It's a good, feisty city.
Yeah.
Did you, like, growing up in Yorkshire, was your family like very, very much part of the whole sort of, they did everybody's dry cleaning and all that kind of stuff? Was there like a big sort of like close-knit family because of that around people? Like, did you have like a lot of neighbours and people that knew the family because of the factory and stuff?
Well, that was a downside, I have to say, that everybody knew my parents, and I looked very much like my mum, so I could never skive off school because my mum would have had several phone calls before I'd got 100 yards from the school. So that was a challenge, but my parents were very active in the community. My dad was chairman of the Round Table, which you're supposed to stop when you're 40, and he was still doing it when he was nearly 50 because he put so much energy into it and raising money for charity.
And Yorkshireman?
Yeah, well, he was actually from down south.
Was
and his granddad, I think this is right, ran the Hampshire Steam Laundry. And then the army put out a dry cleaning and laundry tender. I don't even know which year it was, I should find out. And they won it, and they moved up to Yorkshire and became Richmond Cleaners.
So that, I mean, obviously that's sort of fundraising and everything, and organisation is kind of brushed off on you.
Yeah, and also my dad was fascinating because in fact, both my parents just wanted me to be happy. As long as I worked hard, the work ethic was
very
always
much
there.
As well.
You know, it was just that no matter what you do it to the best of your ability, and that's still exactly who I am today.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I say to my daughter. I'm a bit like, if you're going to do it as best you possibly can, or don't. A lot of the things I still see now, a lot of things that my parents stood for and the values that they had are very much the values that I continue now.
Yeah. And I think, you think, everybody says, you'll turn into your parents, and you rebel against that for so many years, and then you realise, well, actually, I think now if I could be like my mum, I'd be really, really happy, because she's an extraordinary lady. And with me, it must have been incredibly hard. She was very young when she had me.
Yeah,
I was a very sickly child.
yeah.
She was brave enough to go on and have other children, you know, but a lot of her time was spent looking after me. But I could have turned into a very different type of person, because even when I had asthma, she'd send me to school and just say, just do your best. And she knew that probably after the first lesson, she'd get a call going, Amanda's really not well enough to be here. And she'd come and pick me up and take me home. But
How
she
did
made
the other
me
kids,
try.
like not your brother and sister, but how did the other kids, like within school, the fact that you were getting taken in and out and taken in and out, how was that for you? Did you develop like good friendships in school, or?
I did. I don't. It's strange, but I actually don't remember much about school. It doesn't feel like a very important part of my life.
Wasn't an important part of my life either.
You know, because I miss quite a lot. I am not academic in any way. I've got hardly any qualifications.
Right.
I always remember my school report saying something like, Amanda tries very hard, and then I'd get 3C or something. You know, I never got, if I got a 2B, it was an absolute miracle. But it just wasn't, you know, it wasn't sort of who I am. And I remember going to careers advice, and it'd be very traditional. So you'd go and be interviewed by the banks, and they'd go, well, are you going to get maths O-level or GCSE as it is now? And I'd go, no, I'm only doing CSE. Right.
So what did you want to do?
I had absolutely no idea. The only thing I knew for certain is that my dad would not let me go into his business. He wanted me to do something completely different.
Oh, wow.
So I had no idea. I don't even remember having a dream, because I thought I might be a nurse, and they went, you've got far too many allergies, you can't be a nurse. And then I thought, well, maybe the police or the army, because careers advice was so simplistic in those days. Of course, they wouldn't have me because of my asthma. So all the traditional routes that so many of my friends went down were closed to me, because, you know, I wasn't well enough to do that. So I just don't know where the drive came from, how I ended up doing what I'm doing today, apart from it going back to loving film and television when I was younger.
I mean, I'll be honest, I hated school. I absolutely hated school. Continually throughout my life, I thought, I was like, why am I here? I didn't have that much in common with anyone in my class. I had a couple of really good mates, but I just hated school. And then when I went to secondary school, I went through a batch of getting really badly bullied. So that was not, I just couldn't wait to get out. It was a horrible time. It was a really bad time, and I'd got kind of sick at one point. I never ever told my parents when it was happening, but I got really sick because I used to do technical drawing, because I thought I was going to leave school and go into architecture. And I was the only girl that did technical drawing in my year. And it was a class full of boys. And you know what it's like, as soon as you put like girls and boys and whatever, and you know, and I was a right geeky kid. I looked really different. I had this name, Sharleen Spiteri. It was literally, I get called everything, you know, because I never had this British name, and it was literally like, oh, I was all sorts. You dirty speck, everything. I was get spat on, booted, everything. And the technical drawing thing, as soon as I went into that class with all those boys, that was it. The gates of hell opened up with this girl. And there was a big crowd of them, and it was awful. It was awful for about a whole year. And then I got a really bad cold, and my mum gave me Benylin, and I realised that Benylin made you sleep at night. I used to buy bottles of Benylin with my pocket money, just to try and get to sleep. You know, you would do that thing where you come in from school and you'd be as high as a kite, literally with the adrenaline, getting chased up the road from school. And then you get in, and then you settle down a bit, and then bedtime would come around again. You think, I need to get up tomorrow morning and go back to school. And I'd be like, this is my worst nightmare. And then eventually it stopped when I was like a rat. I get backed into a corner, and these girls got a hold of me, and I just lost it. And it took 2 teachers to pull me off the girl. And I got suspended. She got suspended. My mum got called to the school, and they were just like going, Sharleen is so quiet. Yeah, and then everything changed. I was forever known as a lunatic at that point, psychopath.
But you stood up to them, and that's a real life lesson as well, even though you...
Yeah, I mean,
it went
still,
too far, and that's why you had to react in the way that you reacted.
And it's still, to this day, if I feel that I'm being, or anyone round about me is being bullied, I literally, it's like, and I need to say something, I need to do something.
But how much longer afterwards could you look back and get strength from that adversity? How much has it defined who you are? I mean, you talk about not letting people be bullied.
Yeah, I think to a certain degree, that feeling of, I think sometimes when you feel compromised in any way, you're either going to kick out from it or you're not, and it gave me that ability to kick out from there.
You know we gotta work it out. Life's too short, let's work it out. You know we gotta work it out.
And because I was kind of, I guess, I was left alone at that point by people that I was at school with and everything. It was kind of like, she's a bit mad. That kind of gave me the freedom to be in my own little world. Because I think I definitely quite, as you know, as a teenager as well, I was very driven on what I wanted to do. If you're going to do something, do it well. Yeah. So then I went and I wanted that. I always wanted my independence. I love to feel free.
Yeah.
I hate to be, these are the rules. You know, it wasn't like I was a rebel. You know, I'd never say I've ever been rebellious in any way, and because I think, you know, when there are rules in place of certain things, I respect that very much. You know, I'll be like, that's the rules, this is the way it should be. If I go somewhere, I will, you know, even if when I'm on tour as well, if I go to a certain country or go to a certain place, you know, don't think, you know, rules are there to be followed, so I will do that. I don't kick out from that, but I like to be able to put my view and my idea across, but in a very civilised way, I would say.
Yeah, because it's interesting as you get older and look back on who you are as a person, because I did some career coaching recently and had to answer all these seemingly nonsensical questions, and it came out that I'm actually quite a disruptor. But really? Like you, I follow the rules. But when I stopped to think about it, I thought, you know what, that is right. If somebody tells me something is impossible, I will prove them wrong.
You see, to me, if someone says you something's impossible, that's not about a rule. That's
yeah, so maybe,
because that to me is a boundary.
So we're obviously similar like that. Yeah. If somebody says no to me, I'll think,
how can you make that? There must be a way of making it work. Yeah. There must be a way of finding a way around it.
Exactly. I'm very tenacious, which I suspect you are too.
Yeah, and I'm not going to cause a disruption just for the sake of it.
No, but you'll quietly work away at it until you can say, well, a very early boss of mine told me that assumption is the mother of all you-know-whats. And I've taken that with me as well, because if anybody ever says, oh, I just assumed, you think, okay, that can go terribly wrong.
Never assume.
And I think it's just about questioning. And if somebody says to me, oh, they said I can't do that. Well, did you ask them if you could do it like this? Or did you ask this? I'll never just take no for an answer unless it's, you know, a blatant rule and it's so obvious it's a no.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's about questioning things. And again, it probably goes back to childhood and just doing everything you can to the best of your ability. And if you just say yes to everything, then you're sort of living in this quite a narrow world.
I think the questioning thing, I think the questioning thing is really interesting, because I think if you question things, because somebody might look at that and say, well, if you question something, it's a negative. I would say, well, it's not a negative, because really I'm not going to question something just because I can.
Yeah.
I question everything, or because I'm interested.
Exactly.
I'm actually genuinely interested in how something will work. As a songwriter, what you use is life. You know, you write about life, you write about feelings, emotions, things that someone's told you, like a stranger, you're sitting on a train or you're in a cab or something, you've had a conversation with somebody, and years later, that little story or something comes back for some reason, for whatever reason it does. I don't know why it does, but it does, and it comes back up and it ends up in a song. It ends up in part of what it is you're saying. For me, questioning is like so important. My granddad used to do this thing. My grandparents had like a little allotment on the bowling green. There was a bowling green across the road from their house in Glasgow. So we'd sit, my granddad would get a bunch of peas, and you'd sit and you'd be like this. And there was a bus stop over through the gates, and you would always see people sitting at the bus stop. And my granddad used to say to me, okay, right, what's the story? And me and my cousins, my sister and my cousins, we used to have to, like, you each had to take a turn and tell this person's story. I guess that was, again, part of, like, the storytelling and the songwriting and the film obsession as well, because that was what, it was my grandparents that really did bring me into film.
God, I can imagine you sitting there, but you're right about the storytelling and just people's lives being endlessly interesting, whether or not they think they are. If you're in a restaurant, I'd often think, I'd love to freeze this moment and work out, you know, why are these people having lunch with each other? What's the relationship with each other? And just do that moment.
I always think sometimes I'm standing on stage that if you looked out at the audience and you had like a little cloud above their head of the story that they're thinking about when you hear the song, you think, because somebody will say, what's the song about? And I always say, it's whatever you want it to be about. But I know what it's about for me. You know, we wrote it, so of course I know what the song is. But I used to hate when I was a kid and somebody would tell you what the song was about, because then they would steal the song back.
I was thinking about what you were saying earlier and being that little girl at the back of the living room, watching everybody singing, thinking, I could do that, I don't like that song, I can do this. At what moment when you were on stage in front of, I don't know what your biggest audience has been?
We can go on together with suspicious minds.
Did you just take time and think about that little girl and the journey getting you to that stage?
There was one moment a couple of years ago, we played the Hydro in Glasgow. And I mean, literally even the guys that own the Hydro says they'd never seen it. It was literally heaving. And it was a great night. It was just before Christmas. And we played the Hydro. And for the first time I walked on stage, second encore, and I literally went, to all those aunties that went to get a cup of tea when I used to get up to sing.
Brilliant.
Fuck you. I guess, I don't know if you can, I don't know, do you feel that way with, like, what, you know, because you're talking about, like, growing up with your parents, your dad says, this is not what you're going to do. You will not be taking over the family business. You're there literally going, this is the BAFTAs, the association, this is what I will develop. I mean, because it's massively changed.
Yes. Yeah.
From when you took over.
Yeah.
It's not become this kind of old school snobbishness, but it's become something that is very respected and very powerful in the way that it sends out certain messages.
I mean, it's fascinating. It's similar to you in many ways. I still feel that, you know, I've got many years ahead of me. There's still so much I want to do with BAFTA. But when I first started there, which is nearly 20 years ago now, I remember thinking, I'll be here for 3 or 4 years. I'll have made all my dreams of the organisation come true, and then it'll be time for me to move on and somebody else to take it on. So those 3 or 4 years have become 20 years, and my dreams are absolutely still coming true. And for me, it's essential that I do a job that I am so passionate about.
Oh yeah, God,
and that you can make things happen. And you know, I'm in this wonderful position at BAFTA, as you said, that people want to work with us, they want to be part of what we're doing. And for me, if I ever had a career plan, BAFTA was probably part of it, because when I got my very first job, my boss was a BAFTA member.
Okay.
And I always thought, maybe one day I'll have enough, you know, qualifications in the industry, you know, enough good work behind me that BAFTA would consider me to be a member. And it wasn't actually until I moved to Glasgow that I became a member of BAFTA Scotland. And by that time I was a producer, and I produced, I think, 3 BAFTA awards ceremonies as a producer. And I just thought, I want to work with this organisation. So when a job came up, I applied for it and I got it. And the rest is history.
I love it. It's funny, Peter Kay said to me years ago, he was laughing and he said to me, he says, see, the thing is, Shar, he says, in your brain, you're still that hairdresser from Glasgow that people are going to rumble at some point. So you're literally like, you know.
No, I'm exactly the same. I'm still that skinny, pale kid from
I'm
North
still
Yorkshire.
that geek in the doorway that literally the aunties are walking out.
Well, it's about tenacity, but it is about, you know, you so believe in what you do, you so love what you do.
I think seeing anybody that is really good at what they do is unbelievably sexy.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember even when you know what, see when I was sweeping that floor in Irvine Rusk as a Saturday junior, man, I would sweep that floor really good.
Yes, I can imagine.
I just think sometimes when you take a pride, okay, it might not be the place, it may not be your ultimate job, and that may not be the place that you want to be. But you know what? If you're going to be there at that moment in time,
then give it everything.
Give it everything, because the people that will watch you and the people that will see you, because trust me, they will be the people that will speak to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, to the job that you will go on to.
But I think that discipline is so important.
It's really important.
We work in the arts, so yes, we're very, very creative, but you need a discipline to deliver what you're doing. I mean, look at you when you go on tour. You know, the fact that you could be playing a different city, a different country, time after time, having very little time off. You know, you must have to have an absolute routine that gets you from show to show, or at least a state of mind that gets you from show to show.
An amazing team of people. Sometimes that team can be big, sometimes it can be really small, but the other thing is as well, no one can be up there all the time.
No.
There's points where it takes a massive dip. I mean, there was points within Erkry, within Texas, where, you know, we couldn't get arrested. And people were just like, yeah, whatever. But what was a very important part of when we made the right record and then people were like back into it and it started to go back up again, is the fact that you were so professional and good at what you do, that when that moment came, people were like, they remembered.
Yeah, you can say what you want, but it won't change my mind. I feel the same.
You've always just got to be true and do something well and be nice to people.
Yeah.
You know, my mum always, I'd still to that, my mum would like clatter me over the ear if she heard me being rude to someone. But there's a way of saying things and a way of doing things.
No, I totally agree with that. But just going back to when you were talking about when, you know, you weren't as popular, how did you keep that self-belief going? You know, did you write different types of music then? Did it change who you were for a while? Or because looking at you from the outside, you always seem incredibly true to yourself, because you know, seem to be a very strong person. But we all, you know, our self-esteem gets knocked for various reasons.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where you go, oh, you
But does that make you stronger? Because it makes me stronger. If something,
yeah, it does.
It fails
you
or
would
isn't
look at
right.
something, you'd see something, you think, you know, I think everybody does do that thing where they go, right, okay, well, you know loads of people that are able to question themselves. They're able to look at themselves, not rip them, you know, because sometimes, like, there's people that just rip themselves to pieces and you think, why are you so blooming hard on yourself? But I think you have got to be honest with yourself to a certain degree. And I think there's times when we're not honest with ourselves, and everybody does it. I was in my Fat Elvis period there, and that wasn't working.
I describe it as getting into a comfort zone. And, you know, I talk about that a lot at work because, you know, I've worked with the most fantastic group of people, but a lot of people have been there for a long time, like I have. So I always talk about bringing in new voices because it's so easy just to get into this comfort zone and just to do things in the same way as you did it last year or like the last album or whatever it is. And you've just got to constantly just stay fresh and alert because the world is changing. We need to change with it.
We did that on this album. We brought in some younger songwriters that we worked with. And it's funny because, see, when you bring in new people, it's a bit like peacock syndrome. You suddenly go, oh, because they're like, oh, you do. You suddenly go, let me show you what I can do. It's like, way, and it ups your game. It really does up your game because sometimes we forget what we know.
Yes.
You know, I really think, like, because sometimes if you're showing someone that's younger that's coming in, or you're doing something, or someone that's never done it before, if you suddenly go, God, I forgot I knew that, or I forgot I knew so much about that, or I forgot that bit of information, and suddenly it reminds you, and then what it does is it ignites that little flame again, and suddenly you're like, oh yes, oh let's do this, or let's do that, and that excitement and the little bit of being scared.
Yes.
So important to just be a little bit scared. Sometimes you think, this is not my place, but
yeah, I have that in the run-up to the awards, and you must have it before you do shows,
you
where
must
people
literally
always
go.
say, so are you excited? And I'm thinking, no, that's...
my brain's literally
that is not the word that I would use. And then you've got to remind yourself to enjoy it sometimes. And that's something I say to myself a lot. You know, we have extraordinary lives. We meet amazing people. The experiences we have are just exceptional. But sometimes, particularly if it's a busy, busy time and it just feels relentless, it's another event, another gig, or whatever it is, and you've just got to just take a step back and say, enjoy this. Remember to have fun.
Preparation is everything. You know, it's funny, I had that, my friend's son was going off to music school in America, and he was trying to get in, and she said to me, she says, look, he didn't get in the first time, she says, would you give him a bit of a hand? And I said, yeah, fine. She's give him any pointers, and I said, do you want me to go full on pointers? Do you want me to talk to him like I would? She went, yeah, I want you to go exactly what you think. So I said to him, well, tell me when your songs are ready, and I went to her house, and he plugs his guitar in, and this is what, so he's going to do this as his audition to get in. So I sit down on his bed, and he gets his guitar, and he says, on the day when, you know, it'll not be like this, and this will be like that, blah, blah, and I got up and I went, I'm going to go, because when you're not ready for me to watch this, because when you play it, you need to play it so that no matter what's happening round about you, you are so well practiced that anything can happen and you will keep going. I said, see what you see me do on stage, does it look easy? He goes, yeah, no, it doesn't look easy. I says, because I have practiced and practiced and practiced. I can do it in the dark, I can do it, the lights go down, I can do it something, you know, one of the amps goes, it will not faze me in any way. I can ride it because I know it.
I often look at young people today, which makes me sound so incredibly old, but one of the things we do at BAFTA is each department has a 6-month paid internship.
Oh, wow.
And it gives people a really in-depth look at it's possibly their first job, and it gives them a real chance to learn more about film, television and games, to work out what it is they may want to do. And so many people apply, and they're so well qualified. And I've actually stopped looking at qualifications now. And what I look at is what people have done, you know, in their life up to the stage they've applied to BAFTA. Yeah. So whether they've been to university or not, but you know, what is it that makes them tick? What is it they're interested in? Some people are very good at passing exams. I'm not one of them.
Exactly.
So it's actually the people that I'm interested in. And I think one of the things I've realised as I've got older is the worst thing you can do is surround yourself with similar people. What you need to do is surround yourself with people who are very different to you.
Yeah.
And then it works, and it works really well. You won't always agree, but where you get to in a process will be the right place because you've got lots of different voices.
The things that make your brain tick is diversity, and I mean, I know we're using that word so much at the moment, diversity. You know, it's not essential that it's there, but it's important that it's naturally there.
Yes.
And it's important that we don't force diversity, that we allow diversity, because forcing something and allowing something are two completely different states of mind. And it's really important that that you don't just take someone like a young person on. You could have all the qualifications in the world. I've come across people that are like super bright, but when it comes to common sense,
yes, I've found that as well.
You're literally going, what planet were you born on? You know, literally, what sense is this making? Being able to use your mind in a way that thinks outside the box. You know, I cannot read music, but I could listen to something and kind of work it out.
Yeah.
You know, there are young, I mean, nowadays it's that question of like, is there too much choice? Choice is great, but I think that it's just depending on the people that surrounds the child, the young adult, whoever it is. You know, as long as there's people within all the industries that open their minds and say, look, come in, try that. And everything is learned behaviour when you're young, and even as you go older, it's learned behaviour of how you approach something and how you approach someone. If you work with somebody great, I remember years ago when I was at hairdressing, I had a boss who something went wrong, and she said, everybody that works, she got called a big meeting, she went, everyone that works for me take one step forward. And everybody stepped forward, and she just went to this one girl, where are you going? And I remember thinking, oh my God, everybody was like, and sometimes there has to be that level of respect for someone senior to you, that you're that little bit scared of. And you're not scared of them in the way that I'm terrified of them, but there's got to be that they will say what goes. But if you approach them in a way that says, that's old-fashioned, that doesn't work anymore, how can we take that forward? As a young person, it's your duty to open up an older person's mind to a new approach.
I think it's about being brave.
Yeah.
And when I look back at my career, I mean, people would probably describe me as brave. I don't think I ever stopped and thought about it. So, you know, I managed to get onto it was an OND course, which I don't think even exists anymore, doing business studies and graphic design at Newcastle Polytechnic. And again, I think I was sort of fighting the system. I knew I was quite creative and artistic, but I didn't just want to do that, so I did business studies as well. It was quite an odd course, which sort of fitted me perfectly. And whilst I was there, I was on the entertainments committee. I ended up being editor of the Student Union newspaper. Ultimately, I didn't finish. I didn't get any qualifications, but what I did there has really set me in good stead for everything I did afterwards. And I remember the first year we had to go out on a work placement, and I went to the promotions department of the Evening Chronicle, which was Newcastle's evening newspaper. And they could not have been more supportive of me. I had bright blue hair, I was a punk, and they just welcomed me.
Sometimes I think people are really down on the youth of today and what they have, and I don't think that helps any.
It doesn't, because I think it's
a lot of people
hard
ask that,
being young today.
Yeah, I think I have that quandary in my head that no, it's not hard. I go like that, no, it's not hard in the youth today. There are elements that, you know, there's so much out there, there's so much choice, everything's forced down their throats. There's a generation out there that are really cool and that are going to do great things. You know, I always say to Misty sometimes, I was like, don't boast.
Yeah.
You know, don't be, because I always think when somebody says to me, well, what do you want? Like, what do you see in the future? I always say, I don't like to talk about what I'd like to do or what my plans are, because if it all goes completely wrong, then it was just a bunch of nothing.
Yeah.
And I look really stupid.
I'm often asked, what would I do differently, or what advice would I give to the next generation? And when I was thinking about it recently, I realised that my life is a series of sayings. So when I lived in Glasgow, my absolute favourite one was, what's for you won't go by you. And I genuinely believe that. If something is meant to be,
I believe that
it will happen. And now my favourite mantra, which I drive everybody mad with, is believe and achieve, doubt and live without.
Ooh,
and
I've
I think
not
if
heard
that was one bit of advice I'd give people, and I genuinely think it's true, if you really believe in something, you will find a way of making it happen.
Totally
if you
believe that.
think something's not going to happen, then it probably won't.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really going to go. If I've doubted something at the beginning, that if I've carried it through, it was the wrong decision.
Yeah.
But I don't regret anything in my life.
No, I don't either. And actually, the question I'm asked a lot is, has being a woman held you back? And I go, absolutely not.
Do you think of yourself as a woman? I mean, I'm obviously, I know you're a woman, right? I'm a woman, but I have never in my life thought, oh, I'm a woman.
Yeah.
Maybe I've never questioned it. I've never at any point.
You're a person.
I'm just like, I'm a human being. You know, okay, if you're going to go and work on a building site and carry the same amount of, you know, bricks as, you know, John or whatever. No, physically I can't. No, physically I can't compete. But there's women that physically I couldn't compete with either. So
that's very true.
I think the really important thing is like knowing if you cannot do the job. And I don't want a job because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
I want a job because I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I want it.
See, I found being a woman I felt I could be absolutely true to myself. So whether that's because I'm a person or a woman, but you know, I really think it's important to be in an environment where you can be true to yourself, and that's something you've definitely done. I also feel as a woman, I can say in a board meeting, I've just got an instinct about this, I've just got a gut feeling. You talked about a gut feeling. I think it's actually quite hard for blokes to talk like that. But as a woman, I think you're given, you know, real latitude, and you just have a sense about something.
I agree. I know there's things
that's
I've
really
got away
powerful.
with. I know there's things that I've got away with because I'm a woman, that I've said in a certain way because I'm a woman, and I can say it. I can be not blah 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 blah, and there's like a big bunch of guys sitting around there, and they're kind of like, oh, okay. They've taken it as absolute. Whereas if it was said by a man, it would have been very aggressive. But you know, there's certain times where I've said things as a woman, and because I'm a woman, it's been totally like pushed aside.
So it comes down to believing in yourself,
it comes down
being true
to
yourself.
Yeah, but it's like, to me, it's a case of that it went a certain way because that was the way it was supposed to go. Because there's times where I've got what I wanted or I've not got what, but you can't have what you want all the time.
No.
And it's back to the same argument, is it? I don't want my child getting you just won a gold medal and you came 78th in the race. I'm like, no. When you come
does she understand that feeling? Does she?
I mean, literally, some people say I'm too hard. I'd say that she did a thing, she wrote something, and I was like, do you think you're a genius? You're not a genius, you got to do that because of your dad, because your dad has got that. That's why you did it.
Yeah.
And she's like, Mum, I know that, that's my way in. I said, so because it's your way in, you need to be a million times better than anybody else at it, so sort it out.
See, it's hard because I don't think there's a right or wrong, because my parents just really wanted me to be happy and to try my best.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes I wish they'd push me more academically, but the truth was I wasn't academic, so if they'd pushed me, we wouldn't have got anywhere.
I think if you know your kids.
Yeah, it's about knowing your kids and knowing what works for them.
I know my daughter's arts all the way. You know, people go, oh, she's going to be a musician. I'm like, do you know what? She actually is a really good musician. She will not be a musician. I can guarantee you, like, she won't be, because it's not where her passion lies. And I know that things happen later in life. Sometimes you suddenly find something. I never wanted to be a musician. You know, it just wasn't something that occurred to me at that point in my life. So sometimes it takes a long time for you to realise something.
Yeah. And to make the Glasgow expression come true. What's for you won't go past you.
Exactly.
There you go.
And that is it. That is basically, I mean, it's terrible. I use sayings all the time, and I normally get them completely wrong. And my band, it's the biggest joke in my band. They go, oh, here she goes with one of her sayings. But it's one of Char's made up ones that's just like, it's half of one and half of another.
Yeah, I'm a bit
put
like
together.
that.
It's like, I'm always wrong. But I just think that, you know, when people say to you, what advice could you give to somebody that's young or somebody that's wanting to do it? It's like, there's not, I don't know if there's any absolute advice. There's no advice I can say, this is a right and this is a wrong, and this is what you should do.
But if you can find something you love,
if you find something
so powerful in life.
And you're unbelievably lucky if you do something that you love. I do that. I stand on stage still now, and I walk on stage and I go, I literally go like that. Sometimes you know what it's like. As you get older, you get a bit more emotional.
You do. I've noticed that.
It's really bad. I was never before. I'd be like that. Yeah. Now I'm like, oh fuck no. I become a wee bit. Oh good God. You get older and suddenly you turn into this like bag of nails. That's literally like your heart is like pulling in so many different directions. I go on stage now sometimes and I just look out and I go, Jesus, wow. I mean, emotional. I say to the audience a lot of times, I say, when I'm saying thank you from the bottom of my heart, I'm not like giving it, hey, let me do all this, let me see your hands. No, I am literally sometimes absolutely so taken emotionally.
But that's fantastic because you're enjoying the moment, you're living in the moment, you're not expecting it to happen.
No, that moment of when, when something comes together.
Yeah.
But the great thing about getting older is that moment that you can look at it and go,
yeah. And it's so important to
you
look at that
it
moment and go, wow. Yeah, totally.
You can go,
agree.
wow.
Because we're so busy doing, we often forget, and I say this to my team at work quite often, because we do so many events and there's so much activity and it's all brilliant. Just take a moment, look at what you've just achieved, feel very proud, and then move on.
And look what you've been
because life
part
is
of.
relentless. It's just, you can just keep going unless you stop and appreciate the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's so important to enjoy it.
Yeah.